Okay, guys, we're going to talk about a little bit of, fake news. It's actually quite funny because the first story we're talking about was all about BuzzFeed and whatnot and how they're having to lay off staff. This could be linked, I suppose, in a way, so let's jump into it. Fact check. Media Blacklisters NewsGuard promotes fake news, repeatedly violates own standards. NewsGuard is yet another Rorschach. Haha, got it, yeah. Test that says everything about the closed-minded and deceptive blacklisters who create it and nothing about its intended targets. Let's start with NewsGuard's decision to place the Drudge Report on its blacklist. However, it's possible to blacklist... how it is possible to blacklist Drudge is unreliable then. How it is possible to blacklist Drudge as unreliable when Drudge most accurately aggregates news from other sites, and when Drudge does breaking news, it is never fake. It's a little bit of funny sentence, but anyway. Blacklisting an aggregation site is not only ludicrous, it also reveals about NewsGuard's own lack of credibility, transparency, and bias. Which I find really, really funny, because Drudge Report, for example, aggregates things like, for example, CNN, Breitbart, all these sort of websites. So how do you list a aggregator of news as fake? I have no idea, but that's what they're sort of getting at here. Moreover, what does it say when NewsGuard gives every single establishment media site, every single one, a passing grade when those sites Drudge links most often? With this tells you that NewsGuard is not interested in accuracy, but rather how terrified this latest establishment media weed is of a popular site that operates outside the establishment media's filter. Although aggregation, Drudge is a decider. He decides what news is interesting and what is important. Hey, if you want to blacklist Drudge for that reason, have the courage to say so. We think it's a bad decider. Same with WikiLeaks, with NewsGuard. Really hates. NewsGuard blacklist so they've blacklisted WikiLeaks. Wow. What? WikiLeaks has had 100% bat rate at the moment for news. How do you blacklist WikiLeaks? I have no idea. NewsGuard's blacklisters might not appreciate the website that disseminates unfiltered information about the elite and powerful, but there is no single instance where WikiLeaks has misinformed its readers. Every single document WikiLeaks has released has been proven to be a real document, and that is 100% true. Smearing the 21st century version of the Pentagon Papers as unreliable is simply a lie. But what else are we expected from the site staffed mostly entirely with establishment types? The media hate WikiLeaks because WikiLeaks is 100% accurate, because WikiLeaks releases all the information it gets, and when it lets the public decide what is and what not important. Outlets like NewsGuard represent being removed from this process. What they want is to continue to allow the legacy media to filter the truth and shape it to their liking, instead of simply allowing the public to see it. Listen, there are plenty of other things I don't like about WikiLeaks, but unlike CNN, the New York Times, NBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, NPR, Politico, and the Washington Post, WikiLeaks has never lied, which is true. Which brings me to the most revealing thing about NewsGuard, which is how it gives the all clear to the news outlets most responsible for America's fake news crisis: CNN, Rolling Stone, New York Times, Huffington Post, NBC, MSNBC, Political Fact, and Washington Post, and frigging, oh my god, BuzzFeed. Really? After everything that has literally just happened to BuzzFeed, you claim they're credible. Holy shit. But any objective measure, not a single one of those outlets is reliable. On the other issue of President Trump alone, those outlets have spent 2 years carpet bombing America with fake news and have literally published dozens and dozens and dozens of fake stories And this doesn't even count all their fake news about issues other than Trump, the Covington High School hate hoax, or the Brett Kavanaugh fakery. Naturally, Never Trump National Reviewer, which has spent massive 2-year piece of fake news over a 72 period, is also given the all clear. When you see the establishment media finding National Reviewer useful for the anti-Trump causes, so what are the few lies between friends? If you read NewsGuard's nutrition label, smearing Breitbart news, it's the definition of cherry-picking and of nitpicking and wanting to become to the negative conclusion and intervention in pursuit of that goal. To begin with, NewsGuard's primary focus on our opinion pieces. Most revealing, though, is that NewsGuard does not cite even one instance of fake news for the story we published that turned out to be false. So, say that again. Cite even one instance of fake news for a story we published that turned out to be false. Okay. In this nutrition guide, NewsGuard even goes as far to attack us for doing journalism, for publishing stories that are 100% accurate. In other words, NewsGuard is pouting because we're reporting on something they didn't want us to report on, which is generally true. Most revealing of all, get this, NewsGuard doesn't employ the standard journalistic practice of linking to the Breitbart news stories it criticizes. This is highly unethical and a deliberate attempt to make it difficult for readers to make their own judgment. The reason NewsGuard refuses to link to the source is painfully obvious when readers see the actual Breitbart news articles under scrutiny. NewsGuard's credibility problems would become immediately apparent. Here's just a few examples. Our story, David Hogg mocked after Twitter users see Nazi salute at end of speech, is attacked by NewsGuard because we did journalism. So our scared quotes around Nazi salute is a standard practice to convey that we were reporting on the point of view of others, not our own. What more is, if you read our piece, that there is no opinion. It merely reports to inform readers about something that was happening, the latest news about a public figure. In this standard practices of journalism. Nevertheless, NewsGuard complains reporting on this case allowed Breitbart to push doctored images of Hogg dressed as a Nazi, while placed responsibility for the images on Twitter users. Well, if that's... Okay, if Breitbart has gone through and put out images of him as a Nazi or dressed as a Nazi, for example, and claimed that was David Hogg and not like memes or anything like that, then I would have a problem. But according to this, and according to what I've just read, Breitbart went on about him doing the Hitler salute of sorts, and Twitter users then decided to mock David Hogg, and that's Breitbart's fault. What? Really? Okay. Really? Oh, whatever. Except we didn't publish doctored images, and even if we had, so what? Those images were going viral is news. Oh, and the far left Snopes published images similar to the ones we did, and NewsGuard adores Snopes. Well, funny, I didn't know. So what we have here is news organization that puts premium on not reporting stuff it doesn't like. Another example of our story titled Democrats enlistment media push war with Russia. About this, NewsGuard attacks us with a deliberate, deceptive non-scrutiny. None of the people cited in the story advocate for the use of military force in response to the election meddling. Once again, NewsGuard does not link to our piece because so you would reveal the absurdity in the claim that is misleading. But here it is. As you can see, the piece is loaded with countless examples of Democrats and the media recklessly accusing Russia of an act of war. Our headline does not say military action, it says war, a word cited by others at less than a dozen occasions. So what they say? None of the people cited in the Democrats' establishment media pushes war with Russia. Yeah, yeah. I would say that they probably don't have the same conclusions when it comes to the left-wing media. So yeah, I would say it's probably fake. Look, at the end of the day, should Breitbart have gone through and used a different word than pushes war? Maybe, sure. Maybe Democrat and establishment media inciting war or something like that, maybe, if you want to get technical, but I really don't have much of a problem with what they've written there. In this example, NewsGuard again smears us for reporting something accurately. A headline reads, Slate's Jamel Boutourg reports on mission to fracture Donald Trump's base. NewsGuard quotes Burgi, who reports in the opening of his piece that reporters have been trying to find the issue of a fence that could fracture Donald Trump's base for support. So they are trying to fracture Donald Trump's base, right? That seems fairly accurate to me. NewsGuard then complains about Breitbart News, but does so by deliberately mischaracterizing what Bernie wrote. Quote, while the difference between what Breitbart claimed and what Burka wrote is subtle, NewsGuard explains it represents the difference between writing that reporters are working to defeat Trump and writing that they are trying to figure the limits of his political loyalty. Jesus Christ, really? Except, here's the Breitbart News piece NewsGuard is scared to link. Here's the Bourgeois piece that NewsGuard is scared to link. Obviously, the links are there. And nowhere does Bourgeois indicate his belief that the media are, as NewsGuard spun it, trying to figure the limits of his base political support. Rather, Berger reports that reporters have been trying to find the issue or offence that could fracture Donald Trump's base of support. So Breitbart was right. Right? It seems like that's what they were saying in the report. Okay. The dictionary defines fracture as break or cause to break, not as trying to figure out the limits of something. NewsGuard, more like fake NewsGuard. Look, yeah, obviously at the end of the day, what's my view on these sort of reports and these fact checkers? You got Slopes, you got Political Fact, you got NewsGuard. They're all left-wing establishment media types. I find the fact it's interesting that NewsGuard seems to be coming up a little bit more now that people have constantly berated Snopes as being fake, which they generally are. So look, at the end of the day, yeah, I do think at the end of the day that NewsGuard is going to be the new go-to for the left wing. They don't want to keep using Snopes because it's just been busted as fake news. So they're trying to put this new company through the same sort of beliefs and same sort of ideas, I think. That would be my understanding. But yeah, as for this, I would say NewsGuard's fake. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. Look, at the end of the day, guys, obviously, look, people can do their own thing, but I generally get very concerned when people go, you know, I'm going to go and check a news fact aggregator or a fact checker, you know. No, do it yourself. Go and do some research for 5 minutes and figure it out yourself. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What's your thoughts on NewsGuard and these sort of websites, Snopes and stuff like Political Fact? Do you think that they're fake? Do you think that this is the establishment trying to push these companies so that they can back up their own fake claims? Or do you think it's just a symbiotic relationship? Or do you think these NewsGuard, Snopes, and Political Fact and all those sort of guys are honest? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.